So this is really a difficult video for me to make. This studio project is covering a lot of things, and one of the videos definitely would have been dedicated to Jacques van Oortmerssen, my former teacher, a very good friend and mentor. But I never would have thought that that moment would come so soon, and that this would be a video with all this sadness, because Jacques van Oortmerssen died a few days ago, suddenly, unexpectedly, and of course to his family and his wife and his sons, this is a terrible shock. But as well to many others. He had so many students, and although we don't know each other personally, not all of us, but Jacques was a kind of teacher that was old school teacher, so we are all part of that family, and I think there's a worldwide much sadness of losing such a great man. I'm sitting here on the floor because of these vinyl records here next to me. Those records he gave to me when he was here beginning of October, so not even 2 months ago. And since we are doing or planning to do here vinyl, and we have a gramophone player, and I talked with him on the telephone and about that, and he was so enthusiastic, and he said, well, Tony and Jacques were moving to an apartment and he had to clean. He gave me what was remaining of his vinyl collection, and it's a wonderful organ collection really, and it's still here because I didn't find a place for it yet, so it's all so fresh. And you know, I will show you some pictures of Jacques, and at the end of this video I share with you a video that I found on his Facebook page. Jacques van Oortmerssen was not only a wonderful person to talk with, he was one of those persons that really cannot be replaced by somebody else. I mean, he was unique. He had a unique capacity of giving you the feeling that he was there. And although we did meet regularly and we had regularly talkings on the phone, Jacques, his life was so occupied that it was impossible for him to meet very often, but he was there. He was a kind of reference. He was always looking over my shoulder, so to say, and I'm sure that if you watch this video and you have been a student of his, you have the same feeling that in one way or another, I think we all felt we were very conscious of what he gave to us. I share a video on the end of this video that I found of his Facebook page, as I said, and I'm sure Jacques Jr., his son, will not be happy because the quality of that is not great, but it shows really what I mean by being a unique player and a unique professor. That video, that fragment that was recorded in the Walsekerk, his organ, during a masterclass, shows exactly the way he was able to kind of penetrate the mindset of his students. I've had lessons from many people. Obviously, Jacques was my main teacher. I studied with him, I think, 8 years in Amsterdam, from 90 to 98. And what I'm doing now with the clavichord, and I often hear people saying, well, the clavichord is such a difficult instrument to play. And I remember that when I first came at Joris Potvlieger's workshop and I played on the clavichord, he said, you are an experienced player. I say, no, I've never played the clavichord before, and he couldn't believe it. They said, how did you manage to play the clavichord? They said, because I had good lessons. The way Jacques teaches you the organ was really starting from scratch. And you all know the feeling if you have studied with Jacques. To enter that class, you had to prove that you were capable of doing something, because he teach the best students in the world. But then, if you followed the regular course or you had 2 years course, he always asked the questions if you would really want to learn to play the organ, and if you answered yes, he would start from scratch. And the way he just was able to divide all technical aspects in kind of things that you really could take, you could put your hands on, was unique. And his own technique, Jacques had a kind of, how would I say that in English, but he had a very sensitive body with a kind of muscle structure. He could easily bend his fingers over to his wrist. But the way he played the organ, and that is something you will hear in the video I share at the end as well, although it is, I think, just a recording with a smartphone, but even then you hear it. He had a unique way of touch to the organ, his sound that he produced from an organ. I don't know many organists who are capable of doing that. He combined the absolute relaxed position of hand on the keyboard with so much energy that he could give into the key, which transformed the organ into a complete different instrument. Last concert he gave here nearby in Peer, it's a clearingsorgan, mid-19th century, with a pedal board that's absolutely not designed to play difficult music of Bach on, and the action isn't either. So he and Tony came to our house here to eat a spaghetti. I've posted a small fragment on my Facebook page as well. And I turned pages for him. And I asked him before the concert, Jacques, why are you doing that to yourself? I mean, the G minor prelude, the D minor violin prelude and fugue, those are all so terrible, difficult pieces, also with pedal. And he couldn't live without challenging himself. And that concert was the last time I heard him live playing, was so incredibly good. And then he said, well, it's all easy. He came to a point that he was always struggling with his eyes, and he had tension here, and his motorical feeling. His eye was, I think, left dominant, and he was right-handed, and that gave some kind of, he called it the kind of Mr. Bean-like feeling. But that concert, he said, it's so easy if you know how to relax your eye, and the rest is just okay. He was 65 at his top of his power, really. He was amazing. And he had a unique skill to bring that to his students as well. We all are of difficult shape and capabilities, but all the students I've seen entered in Jacques' class, they left as a solid organist that knew how to play an organ. And all the students he had, they can sit on my clavichord and they will play as easily as I do, and we all must be so grateful to him. He is, I think you can compare him with the importance of Marcel Dupré, which was an incredibly gifted organist and also a teacher. He taught, of course, much different from what Jacques was doing, but the influence that Jacques had in his 65 years, I think only the coming 10 years we will really acknowledge that. He gave so much to all of us, to the world, and he had always that energy for you. That 65 years he lived maybe 3 times in his life. And I have here also a yellow map, and that's something I wanted to share with you later, because we're talking about milestones here also in the studio. What are the important decisions? What are the important moments in one's lives and my life here to come to this decision? And this is actually the map. It's very personal, where all kind of pictures and things are collected by my father, who died also this year. So two of the most important men of my life, actually, so to say. That's true. That's what Jacques disappeared this year. So 2015 was a bad year for that. But this is the competition on which I first met Jacques in 1986. I was only 14 years, so it was kind of a revelation. I was very young. I don't know if you see it, but that's the first picture I have an organ, 1985, I think. Oh no, Christmas 84. And the competition was in March 86. And so there were 3 rounds, and Jacques was on the organ in Boxtel in the Netherlands. Jacques was part of the jury in the second, in the semifinals, and in the final round. And I still have, there's the first round, all his notes here, Jacques van Oortmerssen, with his handwriting, making notes about my playing there. And there was a strange competition because there were a lot of competitors. It was an important competition at that time for amateurs of all ages, and nobody would have expected, the least me, that I would go to the final round. I mean, it was the first mechanical organ I ever played on, but I won that competition. And I think there's even a picture here with Jacques giving me the prize. I don't know if it's here, but I don't know if you see it. Jacques van Oortmerssen here. He was age 36 then. Something strange, you only realize that I'm older now than he was then. So there started our journey together, and he asked me afterwards if I would have plans to go and study further at the conservatory, and that he would be happy to have me as a student. But I was only 14 years, just became 14 years. But I did went to Amsterdam in 1990, and I stayed there for 8 years. And after that, we met on several occasions. We did some wonderful things together. And when he was last here and he broke one of my new chairs, that was typical Jacques. It was actually so funny. He poured water over our new table here. He was so unique, and we talked about the future. Anja and I would go to his new apartment in December, meeting with Tony and him, obviously talking about our plans here. So that will never happen. Of course, we will visit Tony, but the conversation with Jacques will never happen, and that gives an awkward feeling. There's like a roof that's being away above your head, and it's empty there, and that gap needs to be filled in. But more on talking about myself and my own feelings, my ideas, my thoughts and my feelings go to Tony and Jacques and Julian. I think all students and all people that have known Jacques, they're all at your side. And I want to say Jacques was one of the most impressive persons I've ever met. And occasions like this, you wonder what life will bring after that. And of course, there are many options, many ideas. I don't know about that, but I do hope that we can meet sometimes again. He and I think with many other people have unfinished business, but in a very, very, very positive way. We will miss you, Jacques, and we all will miss you, and I will be your friend forever. And thank you for what you have done to me and to all. You were a really, really, really great person. Thank you.
no, pa pa pa, pa pa pa. This must be an F. This is wrong. This. Do you hear the accent on the C sharp? Is down and the second chord is up. So it's not first down, then up, but it is first you go up and then you play the chords. Shown this already, and then here, when you have this part, don't again such a place where you have similar notes. So when you play, it is at least yam, hum, tim, hum, yeah, little slurs maybe. And then every time it adds a voice. We start with 3, 4, and 5 and 6. And that you must feel that the tension is growing. So.